Without medical intervention, an HIV infection follows a ruthless mathematical trajectory. The human immune system, perfectly designed to protect the host from disease, is systematically dismantled until it completely fails. This chart shows the clinical progression of an untreated HIV infection over an 11-year timeline, plotting the patient's CD4 helper T cells in blue and the viral load in red. During the acute phase, the first 6 weeks, the virus replicates rapidly, causing a massive spike in viral load and a corresponding immediate plunge in the CD4 cells that coordinate the immune response. After the acute phase, the chart shows a decade-long plateau. This is the chronic phase, clinical latency. But this lack of symptoms masks a continuous microscopic war of attrition, where the virus steadily depletes CD4 reserves. Eventually, the CD4 count drops below the critical threshold necessary to maintain immunity. This defines Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome, or AIDS. At this stage, the host is left defenseless against opportunistic infections and secondary diseases. To understand exactly how the virus orchestrates this systemic collapse, we must zoom in from the patient timeline down to the individual host cell. The inevitability of this immune failure stems from the physical architecture of the virus and its precise mechanisms for hacking the host's central biological programming. This diagram shows the cross-section of the HIV retrovirus, consisting of an outer lipid envelope and an inner core housing the genetic payload. Embedded along the envelope are glycoprotein spikes, composed of GP120 on the surface and a GP41 anchor. These glycoproteins act as highly specific targeting mechanisms. They are calibrated to seek out and bind exclusively to CD4 receptors, which are found predominantly on the surface of the body's helper T cells and macrophages. The initial phase of infection relies on a high-affinity binding event. The viral GP120 protein physically docks with the host cell's CD4 receptor, initiating a conformational shift in the viral structure. This shape change forces a secondary interaction with the host's chemokine coreceptors, typically CCR5 or CXCR4. Once secured, GP41 deploys like a harpoon, piercing the membrane and pulling the cells together to fuse. This fusion generates a pore in the cell wall, clearing the path for the viral core to physically enter the host cytoplasm. This entry sequence presents the first opportunity for pharmacological intervention. In highly active antiretroviral therapy, or HAART, drugs known as CCR5 antagonists are deployed to block the coreceptor, preventing that necessary secondary binding phase. Another class of drugs, fusion inhibitors, bind directly to GP41. This blocks the conformational change required to harpoon the membrane. If these physical drug sequences are not pharmacologically jammed, the virus successfully breaches the outer defense and unleashes its payload directly into the cell interior. Inside the cytoplasm, the virus undergoes uncoating. The protein core dissolves, releasing single-stranded viral RNA alongside a set of specialized enzymes. To reverse the biological dogma that DNA is transcribed into RNA, the virus deploys an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. It binds to the viral RNA genome and begins synthesizing a complementary strand of DNA. As this new DNA strand is built, its RNase H subunit degrades the original RNA template. The enzyme then synthesizes a complementary second strand, resulting in a complete double-stranded viral DNA molecule. Medical intervention targets this process aggressively. Nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors act as faulty building blocks. When the enzyme attempts to incorporate them into the new strand, they cause premature chain termination, halting synthesis completely. Non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors take a different approach. They bypass the building block method and competitively bind directly to the enzyme itself, disabling its function. If the DNA synthesis is successful, the newly formed viral DNA is transported into the host's nucleus. Here, another viral enzyme, Integrase, clips specific nucleotides from the ends of the viral DNA to prepare it for insertion into the host's own genome. Integrase then inserts the viral sequence into the host cell's chromosomal DNA, creating covalent bonds that permanently lock it into place. At this stage, the viral DNA is officially classified as a provirus. To prevent this, integrase inhibitors are used to block the enzyme, ensuring the viral DNA cannot merge with the host chromosome. Successful integration crosses a cellular point of no return. The host cell's genetic code is permanently compromised, fully reprogrammed to serve as a viral factory. This diagram illustrates an active infection. The integrated provirus utilizes the host's own RNA polymerase to produce viral messenger RNA, initiating the manufacturing phase. The host cell machinery is forced to translate this mRNA into massive, non-functional precursor polyproteins, specifically the GAG and GAG-POL chains. As seen in these electron micrographs, these precursor proteins and newly synthesized viral RNA assemble near the cell membrane. They bud outward, forming distinct immature virions on the cell surface. To become infectious, the virus requires one final step. A viral enzyme called Protease cleaves those long precursor chains into smaller, functional proteins inside the new particle. Protease inhibitors chemically arrest this maturation phase. When the enzyme is blocked, the infected host cell still releases viral particles, but they remain immature and completely harmless. Destroying a single cell through budding explains a fraction of CD4 loss, but it doesn't account for the massive systemic collapse seen in AIDS. Direct bursting isn't the primary driver. The continuous presence of the virus puts the immune system into a state of chronic hyperimmune activation, leading to deadly cytokine storms. This flowchart outlines cellular apoptosis. During HIV infection, the overexpression of death ligands and severe mitochondrial disruption trigger both the intrinsic and extrinsic pathways for programmed cell death. This triggers pyroptosis, a highly inflammatory form of cell suicide. When an infected cell undergoes pyroptosis, it ruptures and releases violent inflammatory signals. These signals trigger the exact same death sequence in vast populations of perfectly healthy, uninfected bystander T cells. The virus weaponizes the immune system's own communication network. It uses the body's inflammatory signals to create a self-perpetuating cycle, accelerating the systemic destruction of the entire CD4 network. This diagram shows a macrophage harboring the provirus in a resting state. These infected memory T cells and macrophages act as latent anatomical reservoirs, carrying the virus without actively producing new particles. Because these resting cells are not actively replicating, they evade both the immune system and pharmacological treatments. This is why, currently, HIV cannot be fully eradicated from the human body. This diagram illustrates the comprehensive strategy of highly active antiretroviral therapy. HART enforces a continuous blockade across the cellular battleground. Fusion inhibitors stop entry, reverse transcriptase inhibitors halt DNA synthesis, integrase inhibitors block insertion, and protease inhibitors prevent maturation. By attacking multiple discrete enzyme targets at once, the therapy collapses the probability of the virus successfully replicating or mutating to develop drug resistance. The systemic results are immediate. Arresting viral replication stops the release of those massive inflammatory signals, definitively breaking the vicious cycle of bystander pyroptosis. When this blockade is initiated, the stark mathematical trajectory completely changes course. The viral load plummets to undetectable levels. Relieved of hyperactivation, the CD4 helper cell population steadily rebuilds, fully restoring the patient's immunocompetence. By precisely mapping and exploiting the physical and biochemical vulnerabilities of the retrovirus, modern pharmacology transforms what was once a terminal immune collapse into a stable, manageable condition.